riding shotgun.
So we've been hanging out with Sean and Andrew in New Orleans, and we've already had awesome po' boys at Mahoney's and visited the beautiful Orpheum Theater. And now we're going to Antoine's, which is the oldest restaurant in the country and promises to be an amazing meal. And then we're going to the Boot, which Reddit promises is just the perfect kind of horrible for this show. So we gussied ourselves up and got dressed in our new suits from Savannah, trying to look like either fine southern gentlemen or a really crappy barbershop quartet.
So everyone else thinks we're in a wedding or we're musicians or we're a barbershop quartet, but all the black guys see us and they go, nice. I think we did well.
I think we did well too.
Wow. So we got to Antoine's and I realized this place has got real class. Silverware, tablecloth, decor, waiters in suits even nicer than ours. Man, the manager at Antoine's had awesomely set us up in one of their 15 private dining rooms. This one was the snail room, hence the snails. As usual, we were late getting to dinner, but Sean and Andrew were even later. And because our only exposure to fancy dinners was movies like Clue, we immediately feared the worst.
I think they're gonna fill the room with gas.
No service in this room. Have you tried the doors?
They're locked.
They locked.
I mean, I haven't tried them, but I know they're locked.
Yeah, I know they're locked too, so I'm not gonna try them.
If it does end here, it's a pretty nice environment.
It is, and we had a good run.
But contrary to the movies, most murders don't actually happen in fancy places. And Sean and Andrew soon showed up so we could get to work with our waiter, Brian. Hey, Brian, I'm saying hello to you from the voiceover. Remember me? Hey! How much has the food changed over
To tell you the truth, Antoine's food is very traditional. Our food has not changed very much. A lot of the dishes that you'll see, you probably could have found on the menu 70, 80 years ago, if not more. Our menu used to be a lot more extensive, but then after the hurricane, they did condense the menu to save on cost.
After Katrina, get it down to the essence of it, or
Keep from wasting any food, because things were so tight back then. A lot of restaurants had to really struggle. We were no exception. We, had our struggles here as well.
Everything was extraordinary. I felt like Cinderella, but I knew that by the end of the night, my glass slippers would turn back into boots.
So we're going to the Boot. I've never been to the Boot. I don't like the bar scene. It's too dirty. It's too loud. So what's your advice to have a not shit time?
Well, you're an attractive young man, Zach. You're rocking that seersucker suit. Just go to the Boot, get yourself near enough to a drunk young girl, and she'll find her way to you.
Whatever I puke on tonight, that's what I'm keeping. I puked on it as mine. Oh.
Sorry for the food montage, but this was the single most incredible meal I've had in my life. We had oysters Rockefeller at the place where they were invented, alligator soup, and one of the best steaks ever from like a king cow or something that was a royalty cow, and like you wouldn't want to eat it, but then you ate it and it was great. Just go to Antoine's. With the meal finished and forever a beautiful memory, we met Matt, the sommelier in charge of Antoine's massive wine cellar. I don't know anything about wines, but if I'm going to meet a lady wife, I'm going to have to be an expert where I do the thing and I taste it, I'm like, is that a hint of coriander I taste in this blend? Yes, blend.
The wine cellar is 165 feet long, but we have about 15,000 bottles of wine.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been here 31 years. After Katrina, the guy who did this job didn't come back, and I was the guy they always caught drinking wine in the back Escargot area where you were tonight.
You were the troublemaker, and they're like, let's put him where he belongs.
I was a really good waiter, and they couldn't fire me, but they always caught me drinking, so they said you have to have a little knowledge about wine.
Matt knows everything about Antoine's wine, their age, peak, location, but we needed to ask him the hard questions.
What's your wine of choice? If you're going out to the Boot on a Friday night.
If I'm going to the Boot on Friday night, I'm taking a shot of something.
What's your favorite bagged wine?
Bagged
Yeah.
wine? I can say I've never tasted it.
You've never tasted a boxed wine? Well, you haven't lived horribly until you
I'm
boxed
in the
wine.
mood tonight. I'm gonna drink me whatever's in
That's
the box.
right. Well,
Whatever's in the box, I'm gonna get.
But Matt suggested we try some wine not from a box and said we could choose any wine we wanted.
Taco shots. This is our last. This is the classiest thing we'll be doing before the least classy thing I've ever done in my life.
I'm gonna pick you something nice.
So Matt picked a bottle of Riesling for us and proposed a toast. And to make it extra special, Casey, the great-great-granddaughter of Antoine himself, even joined in.
Thank you.
We celebrated in the wine cellar as people had done for generations. And Matt suggested that some of them may be still there.
My theory of ghosts in here, as a waiter, like I said, when we have that little bottle of wine left over or we get a drink and we go stash it somewhere, well, I think there's a couple waiters here that went back and didn't finish that drink. So they're still around here trying to find that where they stashed that little drink. So when I have a drink, I drink it like this. I'd never put it down. It's not coming back. Because I don't want to be stuck here for eternity. It's way too long.
And before we left, Casey suggested we sign the cellar wall, something that people in the Antoine's family had been doing for decades. It was an honor we hadn't earned, but one we felt blessed to be a part of. Antoine's was one of the most incredible experiences of this whole trip. I am just so grateful that I got to experience it firsthand. So if you're going to New Orleans and you want to see tradition and have an amazing meal, go to Antoine's. Seriously, go. With the dinner from Antoine still warming our hearts, we headed to the boot for love. True, romantic, lasting love that I had dreamt about my entire life. We traversed the streets of New Orleans for what seemed to be an eternity, which is all right to wait for love that long, and then we saw it. The Boots. Explain something to you, Reddit. I may look young, but I am a 28-year-old old man. And the girls in there look like they don't even remember when MTV played music. I'm not gonna marry, and that's what we're looking for at this point. I gotta settle down, you know, my biological clock is ticking. Those eggs won't last forever.
So a bunch of 17 and 18-year-old girls waiting to start their first day of class. Looks great.
So our day with Sean and Andrew has ended, and we've had a meal that we'll never forget, and an experience at the booth that we'll certainly try to forget. And I may not have found my soulmate, but at least I know who she's not. An 18-year-old girl pretending to be 21 who thinks that the prequel Star Wars are the good ones. That's not girlfriend material. That's idiot material.